Welcome to Celebrating Everyday People, where we recognize those amazing people doing amazing work out there. My co-host is Malcolm Berman, and my name is Yana Larson. You can find us on malcolmpresents.com and on Malcolm's YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, and we're on Buzzsprout in all major directories and beyond as we enhance our online presence. Today, our guest is Dr. Barton Rubenstein, or Dr. Barton, as I call him. He is an American sculptor who works in water sculpture, wind kinetic sculpture, and vertical sculpture in suspension. Trained as a scientist and engineer, he brings a technical perspective to his art, applying principles of physics, mechanics, and visual perception to the development of his sculptural systems. His sculptures are typically defined by modernist forms, precise fabrication, and an emphasis on the interplay between structure, movement, and the natural elements. He is also the founder, along with his family, of the Mother Earth Project in 2015 in Maryland. They were inspired by Barton's meeting with Al Gore in 2006. And motivated by Gore's environmental advocacy, the family began adopting sustainable practices at home, which eventually led their community to become a model for sustainability, including initiatives like LED street lighting. But there is more. With their murals, sculptures, and parachutes, which Dr. Barton could talk about, the project has become a global movement, aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, which is something I'm currently studying through Harvard EDX. Welcome, Dr. Barton.
Welcome.
Hi, welcome. It's great to be here.
Good to have you here. So
Yeah.
we've had you on before a couple times when in our previous podcasts. What's going on now?
Well, we're in an interesting time, but I will say that art still has a powerful impact. It's my son just graduated from University of Oregon. Uh, he
Goodness.
just got a job in Annapolis, Maryland, with the Maritime Museum, where he's
Wow.
been asked to create indigenous curriculum for the public school system. So when they come on day trips, and he has gone his own way, is not necessarily, fully engaged in the Mother Earth Project, but he reached out to one of the indigenous nation leaders in this region, and it turned out that that leader's daughter was at one of the strikes back in 2018, and that this leader had actually remembered the parachutes. And for me, that was actually very touching because I know that the parachutes, which I'll explain in a second, have touched communities all over the world, but particularly the indigenous communities, which seem isolated, and there was a mix of emotions involved, and to feel that art has had an impact in some way with with this nation is very meaningful for me. And actually, it was a learning experience at that climate march because there were a lot of indigenous people speaking about the Dakota pipeline issues. But anyway, the parachutes have a long history for the last 10 years of they're like 12-foot, 4-meter diameter white parachutes that are decorated by communities with their concerns about their particular local concerns like deforestation or illegal mining, all sorts of things, and the whole sustainable development goals issues as well. And then they take those parachutes to the street with the climate marches, which obviously are not as intense as they have been in the past years. But those were the first mobile pieces of art that the Mother Earth Project launched, and we're still proud that we're very much part of the fabric. In fact, our family was at the White House when Biden signed the climate bill, and he himself said that it's because of these youth climate strikers that this bill happened. So that was sort of like my moment of a good feeling that because these climate strikes are filled with both hope and futility, and you didn't know whether you were making an impact. And seeing him do that, make that message to the nation was a powerful moment for us as a family.
Well, it is very powerful, and I remember you were talking about that one time when you were here. And then with the parachutes, I know that we have a connection, you and I, with people in Africa in many different countries. In fact, that's how I met you at a remotely, virtually at a webinar with DDA, and I can't pronounce his last name.
Long.
And then, and then through that, Tumani, who was there, who has now just completed his first year at the Jane Goodall Institute. He started with the Roots and Shoots program, but I know that he and his community in Tanzania really participated quite a bit with the parachutes, and it was
Yeah.
really a great way for the community to get together. And then I know you'll want to talk about the murals that they did that also as a community.
Yes, I mean the murals are more of a semi-permanent display of the same messages that the parachutes did, but they're on big walls for sort of the common man to walk by every day and ponder. So that impact is in some ways stronger because it's more permanent. And we probably have 100 large scale murals around the world in over 22 countries, I think, at the moment. And they continue. And we basically just fund this effort. It's pretty simple. We provide money for the materials, the paintbrushes and the paint, and then we leave it to the community to choose an artist and find a wall, and we have a conversation. But it's actually pretty straightforward, and it's funny because when you supply just simple funding for this for the materials, you can set things in motion very quickly
Mhm.
because people want to um, send a message to their own community, and that's why it's been. Sorry.
Excuse me. What do the murals depict? Is there a theme?
Well, again, it's like the parachutes. We tell them to find an issue that's important to them locally, like deforestation, or all their beaches are filled with plastic, and they draw paintings of these issues, and they will make large text messages on the mural that says, stop using plastic, or and then they get the politicians to come for photo ops, and they bring their media to the site, and so it's just a way to bring to the fore some of the important sustainable related issues that each community has. And as I might have mentioned, we have almost over 800 communities around the world that have participated in both the parachutes and the murals, and then of course the original one, which is the sculptures, which we now have in 6 continents around the world, including one that we're in the process of installing in New Zealand.
Yeah. Do you
Mm.
find that with our new administration in the U.S. that there's a little resistance to doing anything that might not be politically correct, in favor of the U.S.?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. I feel that what was accomplished in the last 10 years has basically moved the train out of the station. It is moving, and the inertia is way too great for any person, one person, or a group of people to stop it. Now, obviously, it's slowing it down in this country, but meanwhile, the rest of the world is racing forward. I mean, China is making solar panels to the tune of 4 cents per kilowatt hour, which is very cheap for electricity. And in the end, the economics will win the game. People in Germany are buying solar panels at a price that is cheaper than the actual fencing material that they put in their yards. So it's becoming so inexpensive for renewable energy that there's just no way it's going to be stopped. So I hope that answers your
Oh
question.
yeah, it's great to hear that because of course we don't hear well, at least I don't hear that much about how other countries are reacting. I only can see what we're doing here. And the philosophy of at least right now, it's drill, baby, drill. And everything that
Right.
we've talked about, in past administrations about how to prevent the climate change
Yeah.
is saying, no, no, that's not real. What we got to
And
do is go back to the old-fashioned way.
that's really good to hear. And along with the idea of how strong it is around the rest of the world, that's something that we want to do with celebrating everyday people is really form the community, because the people that are coming, that we're inviting to come talk, to come be a guest on the show, and so far everybody's been very happy to, which is a good feeling. But
Yeah.
it's also to instead of just being on once and then see you in another year or whatever, that we
Mhm.
can form a community and engage with others and collaborate. That's the idea, and to
Yeah.
keep spreading the word and being able to keep the hope alive, so we don't feel oh, helpless and futile. So
Yeah, I think that sharing stories is sort of the central theme of what you're saying and what this Mother Earth Project is about is
mhm.
sharing stories, which keeps connections strong. And art is a very neutral medium for
Yes,
doing that. There's no politics. It's sort of it touches the soul in a visceral way. So just like hearing the indigenous that nation leader speak about it means that it's reaching people in places where you would otherwise not be able to reach.
Well,
right. And so Brigitte, sorry, Malcolm. Brigitte Benely, who is my colleague, we're starting something. She just had two now. The last Friday of the month, she's hosting an arts segment,
Hmm.
and so that we can bring in the different forms of art, which music, visual art, dance, literature, all those different ways, and that will really help encapsulate the whole idea that it doesn't have to be one way, it can be many ways, to
Sure.
keep working towards the goal of making it a better world for all. So
Absolutely.
I hope to
Yeah.
be a part of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It seems right now art is taking a back seat to more practical things. It's not, it's being downplayed. The value of art with going with the defunding of public broadcasts and
Hmm. Yeah. That's very true. My son is actually he works now for a former employee of Voice of America, who was the
Mm,
documentary guru of that of VOA, and so there he's like he's creating art about that story that you just spoke about, how the defunding and destruction of a lot of art related facilities like the Kennedy Center in DC. It's incredible. It is just absolutely incredible. So that is happening, and you know, but I did get a commission last week, so I'm happy that my career can continue. But I definitely have these worries, and yeah, I do
yeah.
share
well,
that.
talk about what you were telling us before we started here, what your Ohio project, I'll call it that.
Okay, so about I guess it was about like 13 years ago, I placed a sculpture at Pyramid Hill Sculpture and Sculpture Park and Museum, and that's north of Cincinnati. That piece was like a beloved piece that went to the Cincinnati Art Museum, and they bought that, and now I've created another large piece, also almost 30 feet tall, that is a kinetic piece that moves in the wind. It uses like a technology that I invented on my own. It's like a patent pending design, and that's going to be installed next month. And there, it's called Founders Day, and I was actually friends with the founder, who's the late founder. He passed, Harry. Um, but I've been family with this park for many years, and very happy and excited for this big event and to have this new piece, which will be in the place where the old piece was. And then additionally, they're going to take the Mother Earth Project inflatable booth, which is this big booth that says, "How are you helping the environment?" And people come and look inside and read all the things around the world that are happening, and they're going to take a whole bunch of parachutes and have them on display. And so I'm very happy that that's going to have a new home that will be used every Earth Day because they have a lot of programming. Um, so yeah, that's one exciting thing going on, and this park is thriving. So that's the counterbalance to all the things that we just spoke about.
Yeah, well, I just thought of something like we're talking about the windmills and for power, and our administration says that it's ugly.
Or how's the transfer?
Is there a way
Yes.
of making them more attractive and making them a piece of art? To be more get the art, well as the practicality of it, to get it more artistic, to make it pleasing to the eye.
Well, my wind kinetic sculpture is pleasing to the eye, and I guess hypothetically you could tap it and pull the energy off it. That is definitely a possibility. Um, but if you're putting these wind turbines out at sea, they're like not visible. I mean, you can float them now. There's so many ways. So if people think it's an eyesore, which I think is a very small problem now, the reason why he's trying to stop them now is because there's some national security issues, but the Department of Defense has already indicated that there aren't any. So it's just, he just has a unfortunate vendetta against the previous administration, and that's just sort of a thing that has to play
Yeah,
out.
that's one of
Well,
his little problems.
I
Yeah.
think it's probably in bed also with the oil
Oil,
companies and the
drill.
coal companies.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to disagree.
But we're not a political show.
No, and I appreciate that. I think we need to continue to be hopeaholics, as Gloria Steinem said to me once. That
Oh,
was quite powerful. I like that. Um,
that sounds
so
better than Pollyanna. I've
yeah,
been accused of being a Pollyanna, and that just sounds like vacant.
yeah. Um,
And
so yeah,
so what did she say? She hopeaholics, and then I think I
yeah. I
missed.
mean, I basically, you have to you have to remain a hopeaholic. You have to still push on like what you're doing with this programming, trying to share stories. It wins the day. It always wins the day. I mean, when when I was a few decades back, and people are talking about how real change happens when people hit the streets and start to strike. Women's movement, the AIDS epidemic, and it's really true. That's how things change. So we have to just continue to do these things to
Well, and it's
push
inspiring when we see, in spite of what's happening. I mean, if there's a silver lining, what the people of Minnesota are showing us, and
for sure.
the power of everybody coming together like that, and it always gives me a chill. I know ICE has been in is in Ohio right now, and then of course we have Springfield that's relatively close, and did get a temporary block on that, but it's so scary, and it just shows that when people get together and do good, good happens, and I
Well,
I like to think good wins over evil. So
yeah.
Well, I like host another show on Malcolm Presents. It's called Up Close and Personal.
Okay.
And what I like to interview people basically who have hope. It seems like the big thing is you have hope. You can't become depressed. There are a lot of I'm old enough that I've been through a lot of periods, in politics and what's happening. And
For sure.
I was part of the generation that they had air raid drills for for atomic bombs dropping in New York that we hid under the desk.
I
Yeah.
remember doing that, in
And
Iowa.
but but again, we had hope. We had hope that things would be better. We had hope when the UN
Mhm.
came in. We had hope when, for me, I remember when I was still young when Kennedy became president,
For
Mm.
sure.
and was still, so the people that I like is sort of yourself that see the silver lining. and work towards it.
Yeah. And I think it's actually real. I mean, those feelings that I have are not just sort of, they're not just propping me up. I actually feel that. And also, Malcolm, to your point, we've been through a lot of ups and downs in our, the journey of our country. So, I mean, this is not an easy moment, but, there's been a lot of other uneasy moments in our country. So this is not like a standalone
Mm.
situation. I mean, in some ways it's unique and standalone, but in other ways, it's just one of many challenges that are,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. It's sort of
Anyway,
like what, yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. We've run out the end of our 20 minutes.
Just seems like fun.
It's so fascinating. I'm losing track of time. We have to have you come back again.
Yes. Well,
Happy to come back.
please, Barton, keep me in your list of who you might send information to so we can like follow the progress and be able
Mhm.
to get something out, with social media, because that's one thing I want to do on our Facebook page is show what other people are doing that we've had on the show. Like pay attention to what she's doing with the
Mhm.
Catholic workers in Chicago, and one of our people, she's in Prague. She's from the Ukraine, and she's had to like make a big change in life. And so she's doing a lot to show what's happening there. So anyway, keep in
Yeah,
touch.
we will do that. Thank you so much for
Welcome.
having me and
Oh,
happy to
you're
come back
welcome.
anytime.
Yeah, as I say,
Malcolm, do you have
thank you very
anything?
much for being had.
Malcolm, do you have anything to say before I take us out?
Now, the only thing that I have is, again, you're listening to this on, on malcolmpresents.com.
Well, I'll get that in.
Okay,
Okay.
you get
All
that
right.
in.
I'll
Thanks
go
much. I'm
ahead
looking
with
forward to
it.
seeing you soon.
Yes.
Awesome.
So Dr. Barton, thank you. We hope you have enjoyed our show. If you have any questions or comments, please send us a message at malcolmpresents@gmail.com. That's for our listening public. Remember, you can find us at malcolmpresents.com and on YouTube, and Celebrating Everyday People on Facebook and Buzzsprout. Goodbye.
Bye.
Nice. Take care.